meeting is officially called to order. We have a quorum with Emily and me, two of our three committee members. And so first item on the agenda was to approve the meeting minutes from July 18th. Emily, do you have any comments or thoughts?
No comments. I motion to approve.
Okay, all in favor? Great. Okay, that was easy. So that's such a cooperative committee member.
One of these meetings I'll be hostile.
I hope not. I hope not. So the next and the main item on the agenda is the scope of work discussion with agency about how we want to communicate with regards to the vision plan and all the accompanying stuff. Rhiannon, I assume, so we had a call about this on the 18th, or meeting on the 18th of the Community Outreach Subcommittee, at which we had all three members. We didn't have you. In retrospect, we probably should have invited you, but we talked through some of the different communication dimensions here. And I think you've seen the document we put together that listed things like website communication, social media outreach, that sort of stuff. But I guess I'd love to just kind of jump right to your thoughts on, or maybe Justine has thoughts as well, on how, we're interested in engaging agency to kind of basically finish the job and from a communication standpoint. And we need to understand kind of what the scope of work might be, how much that might cost, so we can confirm that we can do it. So I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts on it.
Awesome. Yeah. And Justina can definitely type in as she's able. I think in our minds, at least where we left things, it was that we submitted the plan document, but that there wasn't a kind of clear sense for how that document would be shared with the public. What would a communication strategy look like for that communication of the document to the public? And I agree with you, John. It would be amazing to just be able to finish that and to put the document up on the website, to provide a way for people to give thoughts or feelings about the document, so that it gives you all fodder for continued conversations about where you want to land with your next steps. And so I think that we could revisit the communication strategy we've been using in the past, and can lean on that. And yeah, I think all that to say, I don't think that would be, I think it would be a relatively easy lift because we've already done it in the past. We already have all of those tools at our disposal. So shouldn't be too significant.
Okay. Aaron has joined us, Rhiannon. Welcome, Aaron.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
That's okay. So we had talked, Rhiannon, about, website dimension to this, social media support, potentially some kind of leave behind. We like the idea, I think, of having a relatively light printed piece that could be, left at kind of spots around town potentially. But then also just we thought about kind of ongoing engagement and whether we should have like a new survey that's part of it, just so that people can, maybe we want to keep capturing information. I think we want to sustain momentum, but I think we also, beyond communicating about the vision plan, I'm not sure that we have a good enough idea yet about exactly what will come next for the advisory board or the project. But it would be nice if we could put something in place so that we can add updates as we understand more about how the project is going to progress. So as we think about the website, something that we could potentially maintain ourselves, or maybe some continuing role for you guys.
Absolutely. And I guess completely agree with you about, apologies for the sound. I completely agree with you about the idea of like wanting to continue the momentum. I think one way of continuing that momentum and giving you all clarity about next steps for the advisory board, the advisory committee, is just asking people to say, like, what are some, after reading this document, what are some questions that you'd like the group to investigate? Like, what are some of the things that feel really important for the advisory committee to be able to like gain the confidence of Concord residents to make a recommendation? Could be one of the questions you ask as part of the survey. I think we imagine the survey would be pretty brief, allow people to make comments about the document, like specific comments about the document, but then also ask them more philosophically how the document, like just like their feelings about the document overall. So I think that could be that approach. And then on the website, it's in Squarespace, so it should be we think it's pretty user friendly for folks who don't have a ton of website building experience. And so it can absolutely transfer that over to you. We're working to understand how we can change the username and password so that's something you all can just take and it can be yours and you can own it. So we'll confirm that. We can confirm that on the back end and share that with you. One big question we have is the leave behind. So for the leave behind, there are two thoughts that come to mind. There's, the leave behinds that we've been using as like postcards to get people excited about the plan. It's more of just like, there's this, there's something that we want you to engage with. Here's a link to that item to engage with is one way to define the leave behind. Another way is, and this is a reflection after we finish the report document. The report document was meant to be an executive summary. It is not an executive summary. It is a 80+ page document that then, the appendices are essentially the report itself, and that's 500 pages. And so it's, it makes us wonder if the leave behind is less of there's a document that's 80 pages that you can read, or is it meant to be more of like if you were to imagine a brochure or like a 4-page, like if you're going to take anything out of what we learned, like any insights from this work, what would it be in 4 pages? Is that what you all are looking for?
Aaron, and what do you guys think?
Can you say this, the latter half of your statement, like one more time, Ree?
Yes. So I think essentially, if we assume that folks in Concord are busy and don't have time to review an 80-page document, and we wanted to give them essentially a Cliff Notes version of that 80-page document. So essentially, like you could imagine 4 pages.
Yeah.
Is that useful?
I think we need to table that. Like I guess with the use of AI, it could be pretty easy to synthesize 80 pages down to 4. I guess I'm sort of inclined to just leave it as the broader addendum and not do a Cliff Notes version and let people sort through and find out what everyone's like, what if we pull something out that isn't addressed, and then, so many people have so many varying opinions and hot points on this. I would be a little concerned we would miss something, and the work has been done, but that's sort of my initial take on it. I'm not sure if it is worth our boiling down.
Yeah, I sort of agree, and I was sort of feeling like I think folks probably respond best to like us telling them something, like, and then reacting to it versus acting, on their own to read something and research it and respond. So I don't know if John had mentioned this, but as we do further engagement, is there an opportunity to take like maybe the many slide presentations you folks have done and synthesize those down to something that we could present to additional groups as this kind of goes? Maybe you talked about this already, but okay. And I think that would be really helpful because I think that's what probably folks are looking like. I think at this stage in the game, given the timeline of the work, I think people are more willing to be presented to rather than, kind of read something. But and if there's more questions, we can certainly direct them to the report as an overall document. But
to expand on that idea a bit, just for Ann and Justina's benefit, the idea that Aaron made last meeting was that we have all these stakeholder groups. We made, we've been around and we've made a bunch of presentations, right? It would be good to have a deck, kind of a summary deck that we could then use to go about and update them again. So there are a bunch of groups that certainly would benefit, and there are some that we haven't even presented to yet that would be, like, for example, some groups that represent the surrounding towns, right? Like maybe we'd go out and do updates for them in person, just as a way to, kind of keep them fully in the loop. So the deliverable here for you guys would be a slide deck that we could use to share as we go around and update either Concord based or non-Concord based stakeholders.
Definitely. I mean, I think we have a lot of that already, and it would just be cobbling together pieces of different slide decks.
What if we did this? I'm just trying to be very kind of tactical here. We know we want to put the report on our website, right? So deliverable one is modification of the website to support a successful release of the report.
Mhm.
Okay, that's we know we need to do that, right? That's number one. Number two would be a slide deck to, that we can use to brief people on the project and the vision plan. Social media, I'm not sure is essential at this point. I'm not sure that we need to do that right now. The third thing that I think is important is I think it would be good to have some kind of a survey, but again, Aaron and Emily, is it premature for us to imagine what that might be? Maybe we should just wait on that. And so in terms of further deliverables, and I'm not hearing a lot of enthusiasm for the leave behind, which I'm fine with not doing that. The third might be, could you guys, and we'd have to, I guess we have Megan here on the call. If agency were to come to us and say, okay, the price to do the website and the slide deck is X, and then any further support would be billed at a certain hourly rate. Because if we have that in place, then a month from now, when we know what the advisory board is recommending, and we have a better sense of our next steps, we have a better sense of what kind of feedback we might want from the community, then we could just kind of roll forward with work done on an hourly basis. Does something like that work, Megan, if that works for agency?
I'd say from our perspective, what I was planning on doing, I got a quote for the updates to the report that the board had asked for, which was $1,800. And so I have a request into the town manager, and I'm meeting with her this week to do a change order on our contract to adjust it to include that. What I'm hearing today is that it might also be helpful to include the web update to kind of put the report out there on the web page as part of that change order. So I think maybe we'd want to quote for that component as well. And then we'd be going to the town manager to say, like, we're looking to do a change order on this contract with the town meeting funding for this. As for additional future work, I think it really does need to be rolled into a broader plan of what is the request, what is the budget, what is this in service of, and I think they'll need to be, I'm thinking about it a little bit like the 2229 Main Street Advisory Task Force. They were a task force like you all. They knew they were looking for some resources. Some were grant funded, some were legal. And so it was, what is the plan? What is the request? And then a kind of a transparent ask instead of, kind of adding on like at different points. So I think like as part of the completion of the report, edits and push out, that's kind of one piece. And then the other piece hasn't been defined quite yet. Getting information on hourly rate, I think, is important. I think it depends on what it is, right? And so I think that would inform a future budget request.
So what about this? Because there are other things we might want to do in the future too, like Eric Moore, who's on the call, had suggested. What if you had like a video leave behind, right? That would share stuff. We may want to do that in the future too. But for right now, the priority is to get the vision plan out, right? So what if we just ask for pricing on the website changes, right? And the deck, get those incorporated into this addendum. then we can roll on that, hopefully, you know, in the next week or two. It'd be great to have this out. Last week we said we'd love to have this all up by the end of August, right?
Do we, so this is website and deck, agency team, do you feel like you know exactly what that entails? I think it'd be helpful to leave this call all knowing what we're making sure we're on the same page, so there's not any confusion, like, or if you're all speaking the same language and I'm kind of listening in. So if you all know, yes, this is what we need, then golden. But if there needs to be further refinement about what we're really talking about and the amount of hours and what the work is, I would say maybe we could resolve that in this call.
Yeah, I think we have clarity about what those two pieces are for the website. It is both updating it to include the document itself and ensuring that, you know, all resources are up there so that people know where to access them, and then setting it up to transition the website over to the subcommittee. So that's the website, and then on the slide deck, for us, it's, or at least what I heard from Aaron and John, it's essentially a deck that enables them to shop it around to various committees. I think it will mean that there will be extra slides that they can take out or put in, depending on who they're talking to. But essentially, that slide deck is just a succinct but comprehensive story about the project and the outcomes of the plan.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So Megan, we are on the same page.
Okay, if you could get me a revised quote then for those additional elements, that would be helpful so that I can make sure my request is filtered out.
Okay.
All right. Okay, I think that was, I'm gonna get my agenda here. Is there anything else from the committee on the scope of work question?
Not from me.
Okay. Then that is the bulk of our agenda. The next is just the opportunity for public comment. Any comment from any of our guests? Eric Moore.
Hey, this is Eric Moore, 45 Francis Street. Thank you for taking my comment. So this communication plan focuses on communicating the report, which I've read. I've read the draft report. It's really, really nice. Out to the broader public and particularly to sort of principals within town government. I think the other piece of communication, which I guess falls outside the scope of the report communication, is around sort of where the overall process is. For example, at some point, the overall committee will make a judgment about a recommendation. It sounds as though you're thinking to sort of, shop around the report to get more input about the different three scenarios before actually making a recommendation. But there's also this ongoing development of a negotiation position with respect to DCAM. That's part of what the public would benefit by understanding in terms of the overall process. But those things are separate from the work you're talking about here.
That's correct. I think right now,
okay.
Eric, we don't know exactly, and by the way, this is all happening in almost real time, right? So we have a Monday of the full advisory board to discuss. That's going to be a big meeting, I think. But we've already, like almost a month has passed since the report was done. We want to get the report out there. There will absolutely be more communication required in the future. But I think this just gets the report out into the hands of the public. We don't know what feedback we're looking for yet. We don't know what the actual recommendation of the advisory board is going to be. And so I think that I can imagine that we might come to agency once a month and say, okay, we've got a new scope of work. Now that the advisory board has rendered its recommendation, we'd like this. And they could support us in that ongoing communication effort, but we just don't have enough of a sense of what this is going to be yet to be able to ask them to scope it and price it.
Got it. We're on the same page about that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Anybody else? Okay. In that case, well short of our 1 hour allotted, we are adjourned.